We get to paragraph 2, which relates to the complaint or the statement made by Mayor Elam in relation to the sexual harassment complaint against Mr. Wright. In this complaint, Hatton Wright states that Mayor Elam violated the personnel ordinance by making this statement. Not one person that I've spoken with has been anything but appalled at the statement that was made by Mayor Elam. That statement led to a perception that Hatton Wright was guilty of all charges. Without going into detail about a pending investigation, some parts of that complaint pertain to Mr. Wright's staff and not to him personally. While the statement itself mentions public works no less than 5 times, the location of Hatton Wright's name would lead a reasonable person to believe the mayor had found him guilty of all charges and then told the world that he was wrong. Again, we have the legal standard, and then we have the reasonable person standard, and they conflict. The personnel ordinance, however, as it specifically pertains to sexual harassment, does not allow this conduct. We cannot allow semantics to whitewash the spirit of the ordinance. The message must be clear that the actions of department heads and employees must be held to an acceptable standard. The standards of this commission and the mayor cannot be held to a lesser standard, and there is a standard of responsibility on the part of us, the Board of Commissioners, to conduct ourselves properly while at this table. And based on that standard, we were advised by the city attorney to consider, I believe, that any reasonable person would believe that a violation of the personnel ordinance had occurred, and the mayor should be held responsible for her conduct. I also believe there is a section of the personnel ordinance that directly relates to sexual harassment. There is an absolute factual basis to hold the mayor responsible for her actions. As to Section 3 of the complaint, while the statute that would apply to this part of the complaint does not allow for any legal remedy, it is absolutely credible to believe that a reasonable person would believe that a conflict could exist under some circumstances. As Commissioner Vice Mayor Haggerty read earlier, the mayor and the commissioners in the city are part-time positions, and we're going to remain that way until a change in the charter is invoked by the people under the home rule adoption that took place in the last election. All of us have jobs that we go to which provide for our families. The mayor's position as legal representation for a major developer should only raise concerns when that particular developer has an issue to be discussed by the commission or the planning commission. I personally have had concerns, and have publicly stated those concerns due to the mayor's appointing the planning commission and her ability to remove members at her discretion. But again, those concerns should be directly related to CRS, not to every development in the city. I'll also note the mayor added to her statement she was no longer employed by CRS, but was a contractual employee. The manner the mayor receives compensation is not an issue and does not make her employment more or less ethical or unethical. The individual was interviewed in relation to this part of the complaint feels she has a direct conflict because of her job. Instances have existed where a conflict might be present, but not in a broad overall view, and I don't believe that a reasonable person would believe that her position as a real estate developer or development attorney would taint all votes as it pertains to development in our city. Again, we were not advised by the city attorney that the level needed was factual. We were advised, and it was stated 3 times during that meeting, that we'd make a determination based on the reasonable person standard. This standard is dictated by a combination of fact, statements made by employees, and the overall perception of the actions of the mayor as it relates to the complaint. It's what any person on the street would believe to be the truth based on the testimony and the circumstances. Now, this lowers the standard needed for this commission to make a decision. Remember that we as a commission represent the person on the street. We do not represent the mayor or the attorneys except as they relate to us as private citizens. This makes our decision a little bit easier than Attorney Flowers' recommendations must have been for her. It's led me to several conclusions. The first one being I am an elected member of this community with 1/5 of the vote to make major decisions on many different facets of city government. My comments, no matter how offhanded they may be, and I have made some offhanded comments in the past, might be taken in a manner other than how they were intended by department heads and employees. And it is my responsibility not to foster an impression of superiority. Because of my position in the public, I can and should be held responsible for my comments and the actions in the public. And finally, we as a commission should not accept the standard of behavior, but we should be the standard of behavior. When we are found to be outside the parameters of good judgment and responsibilities, we should just accept the fact that we have made a mistake with humility and understanding as to how our behavior was perceived, and then we go on with our duties and our elected responsibilities to make our city a better place to live and work. I have not always been the premier example. I've made mistakes, some that I didn't even realize I was making. And that being said, if I or anyone at this commission table has erred in judgment and made an employee feel intimidated or uncomfortable, then I will personally apologize, at least for my actions. I will state the concept of ethics and being responsible for our actions was not invented by the legislation, and the state legislature did not pass any amnesty that says that if we did anything improper prior to ethics legislation, it's okay now. We have always been accountable to God, the people of this city, to our families, to our friends, and to society as a whole. I have been held accountable in the past by this commission for making comments that some felt were improper, and I learned something from my mistake, and then I went on. I'm humbled by the opportunity to serve in this position that I've been elected to, and I feel that everybody on this commission should be. At this time, I would like to make a motion that this commission finds the actions of Mayor Linda Elam unacceptable concerning Sections 1A and Section 2 of the right complaint, and that this commission admonish Mayor Elam for her behavior. I have been advised by the city attorney that this is well within our authority to do so, and the standard that has been driven, or that has driven this determination, was also spelled out by the city attorney. I would also like to add that I would ask that my motion include this commission finds, as a matter of law, Mayor Elam did not violate the recently passed ethics ordinance. And that would be my motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah,